Elias Bou, Saab, is the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and he's joining me now from Beirut. Deputy Speaker, welcome to the program. Can I ask you how close you think this actually is?
Thank you, Christian, for having me on the show. I think we are very close. We are probably, minutes of an announcement that may take place now in Israel. And later on, we're expecting a statement by the President of the United States and the President of France, a joint statement maybe to announce the deal. And after that, we will expect a statement from the Lebanese government, and hopefully this ceasefire will take effect 12 hours from now or from when it's announced, if things continue to go in the direction that we understand it to be. Because historically we had different experiences with Netanyahu. Those experiences were not encouraging. We don't know if this is going to happen for sure or something may change the last minute. So we are skeptical here in Lebanon because of the bad experiences we had in the past.
Okay. And of course, you mentioned France. They also helped broker this with the United States. But let me ask you, there's been a lot said, and I said that part of this deal could be a 60-day pause in anticipation of a more permanent truce. Can you give us, first of all, confirm whether that's the case, and give us more of the details? What will this truce or this agreement or arrangement look like?
There are several points, but the main important ones, Christian, would be the minute this is announced. Last I had the information was 12 hours from announcement, the ceasefire will take effect. And we probably call it halt of operation or, military operation, because this term was used in 1701 in the United Nations law that was passed on Lebanon, which was back in 2006, after the war of 2006. So we say halt of operation, halt of military operation, and then we have 60 days period to implement the terms of this agreement. It all focuses around 1701. 1701 clearly states that there should be immediate withdrawal of all Israeli soldiers from any territory they may have entered or occupied during that war. And they are currently at the border in some villages or areas in the southern part of Lebanon. So this will happen within the 60 days. It will start being, it'll start to be implemented immediately, but we have up to 60 days to complete that.
Okay.
After this, the Lebanese army will start filling in. So at any place that the Israelis leave, the Lebanese army will enter, and the Lebanese army will have a major role together with UNIFIL to fill in the positions that were, left by the Israeli soldiers.
So just
After
to ask
that,
you, okay.
We'll have,
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to ask you, Israeli forces, you say, are due to pull back, but so too are Hezbollah forces, correct? There's a number of kilometers.
This is what I was reaching. The 1701 also calls that anything, or all areas, the southern of the Litani River, on the south of the Litani River, there should be no arms, no rockets, and no military presence for Hezbollah. So also after the withdrawal of the Israelis and the Lebanese army enters that area, we expect also that all the arms, if they exist, and all the rockets where they exist in that part of the Litani River should be withdrawn or, find a solution to it. This will take place, of course, also within the 60 days. The 1701 also talks about other things, talks about, we need to reach a point in the end where we stable the region, stable that border, and then the negotiation as part of that agreement that we are expecting to see is that we will see the final demarcation of the land boundary between Lebanon and Israel. There are some points that are still, being discussed since 2006. We never finalized those. We expect at this time there will be a follow-up and finalization to all pending issues. The difference between what is happening now and what happened in 2006, it's the same 1701. But because it was never implemented by Israel or by Lebanon, this time we are hoping that there will be a new committee or a committee that existed between Lebanon, Israel, and the United Nations that was meeting on a regular basis in the south. Now we will add to that committee the United States and France. And whenever they meet, the United States will preside those meetings. Okay. So this will be a committee that will, if you want, oversee and monitor the implementation of that agreement.
All right, let me just step in and ask you a couple of questions. As you said, the 1701, the UN Security Council resolution that ended the 2006 war, called for all these things that you're talking about, and yet it wasn't fully implemented, and the countries went back to war against each other, most specifically after October 7th, when Hezbollah started to fire into Israel in support of Hamas. Do you believe, and one of the weaknesses that your country, your sovereign nation, the army has not been able to have the strength and authority that Hezbollah militant forces do. How will that change now? Why will it change now?
It will change because, as you know, the Lebanese army was never receiving the full support financially or equipment-wise or military. All the Lebanese army was always in a position where we have no rights to own things that may be probably or can cause, if you wish, a threat to Israel. So now, hopefully, that the international community and everybody will help us to strengthen the army to be able to defend our country. The existence of the resistance and Hezbollah in the past was because we said Israel have, may come to Lebanon, may enter Lebanon, may, attack us anytime. We have a history of wars between Lebanon and Israel. We hope in Lebanon that we reach a point where all the threat of the Israelis' interest in Lebanon or in our land will go away, and we will only have one army, one armed forces, officially called the Lebanese army. And so when we reach that, hopefully we will be able to say we will have a stable border, we will have a better country moving forward, and the war will probably go away forever, not for decades, because historically we see different wars every 10 or 15 years. The Israelis will come and they claim sometimes areas of Lebanon, sometimes more interest in our water, or even in the gas and oil that we have in the sea. So we want that to be settled, to go away. And then we will say the Lebanese army should be the only army that have arms and defend Lebanon. Hopefully this will end the situation that we have been living in.
So on the one hand, Elias Bou, this is a huge opportunity to bring some stability and sovereignty to Lebanon. But does Hezbollah agree with all the points you've been telling me? And does its main backer, Iran, agree? And what happens to Hezbollah militants, or whatever they call themselves, the Hezbollah army? Do they get absorbed into the Lebanese army?
All this to be discussed because we have something called the National Defense Strategy that we were supposed to discuss and implement years back, and it never happened. We hope now, and we heard statement from Hezbollah, that they are prepared to talk about the National Defense Strategy that Lebanon can have and implement. If we succeed in that, and to succeed in that, we need to elect a president. We need to have a government that is functioning. We have many things that we need to fix in our country. But our first goal should be, yes, how do we find a national defense strategy that will defend us against any aggression by Israel or anyone else? And then we will have one armed forces, the Lebanese army, to defend the country. This will need internal discussion, will take place if this deal takes place and we implement a ceasefire agreement now. We will have probably elect a president. After we elect a president, then we will have a cabinet, we will have a new government, and we will all meet to start discussing all those solutions.
Okay, one last question, and that is, everybody knows that Lebanon is desperate in terms of its financial collapse. You've now had, since September, a whole load of Israeli airstrikes and other things that have leveled great big swaths of Beirut and other places. As they say, they went after Hezbollah targets. Who's going to help you rebuild?
I just received a message now that the Israeli cabinet have approved the ceasefire agreement. I think you may have received the same thing right now. They just announced that they have received or accepted officially. So basically, I can say we are probably, few hours away from an official announcement, or it could be less than that.
So you've just given us some breaking news, which we have yet to hear from Israel itself. But you say you've just had a message that the Israeli cabinet has approved. Is that what you're saying?
I think maybe at CNN is being reported as well. So they may have officially announced in Israel.
Okay.
That.
Well, that's good news for you, for your country, for Israel. Let me ask you the question I put to you, and that is, who's going to pay for the shattering of so much and the destruction of so much and the displacement of so much since September?
Thank you for this question, but I want to say you started the interview by talking about the amount of bombardment and bombing that is happening as we speak right now in Lebanon. And those are not justified. The Israelis know that the agreement have been reached. We're done. We finished. There's no more negotiation. So everything they're doing now is aiming at civilians, at buildings that have some, civilians that are living in them. So the bombardment is reaching Beirut, and it's unjustified, and the war is bad. And the cost of war, the amount of money that has been spent on war in this century is beyond imagination. If this money was to be spent on development and the human, better lives for everybody, we would be in a different situation. How do we build? How can Lebanon stand on its feet again? The answer is, until right now, it is not clear. But if the war ends, I can tell you, and if we fix our internal problems here in Lebanon, and we reach a point where, we'll be no more in a position where we expect war between Lebanon and Israel every few years, and we have a government that is talking to everyone, open to peace, and talk to everybody around the world, we will find a way to rebuild our country.
Elias Bou, Deputy Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament, thank you so much for being with us on this hugely consequential day. Thanks very much.